different party. So until we get somebody who's you know, had all this experience and built up to a point where they're ready to run for lieutenant governor and governor, we're you know, we're not going to see that. So there are probably going to be some people who have to, like Dawn, you know, who run for a statewide office. That's tough. It's really tough. But the next person was a woman, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That ran after you did. You kind of paved the way in a way.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Think about it. If you kind of paved the way that it was okay for a woman then to be Secretary of State. So there probably will be, or PSC, there probably will be some unsuccessful women run for lieutenant governor. I hope sometime in the near future. But you have to have, you know, have that kind of experience to be accepted to run for that kind of office. So building the bench, what Wendy said, is actually the very best thing we can do, is encourage women and empower women to run at the local level and gain that experience and get involved.
Okay. Name recognition.
And just being able to have a thick skin.
I mean,
you know, we all like people to like us, and that's hard for running for office.
Women care more, I think.
That is,
or traditionally, they care more whether people like them or not. So that it's harder to do some of the tough things that will naturally make enemies and naturally not make everybody happy.
do you guys feel that you have to really develop a tough skin being a woman in politics?
Being, I think, an elected political official or someone who runs for office, whether you're male or female, you have to have a thick skin. Thicker than the average person. Yeah. Because people will say things to you, and sometimes they mean to hurt your feelings, and sometimes they're just careless and thoughtless. And if you're having a bad day, it can make it worse. It can make it a lot worse. So. Better develop a thick skin.
Right. That's so true. Let's see. Second question was, Marie Wilson wrote a book called Closing the Leadership Gap, Why Women Can and Must Help Run the World. And in this book it states that women will stick loyally to a party even if it doesn't necessarily align itself with traditional female issues, while guys abandon the side they perceive as feminized. How do you think we can apply this statement toward getting more women out to vote for Democrats and help turn Georgia blue?
Jane, I'm thinking that you might have the
well, you know,
been thinking about that.
I have been thinking about it, and I have read Marie's book, and I think it's a great book, and I would encourage all of you to get it and read it because it's really good. But I really think that we've allowed the parties themselves to kind of be characterized in the way that they are, and it kind of works the opposite way. The Republicans have branded Democrats, and Democrats have kind of branded Republicans. But if you think about it, a lot of women are at a stage where some are very independent thinking and gravitate to humanitarian issues and would certainly want to be in service, public service. They do that in their normal lives, and so they go that way in their political lives. And I think that tends to be more of a democratic value. What you find is that a lot of women, I think, vote the way their husbands do, because that's what they're exposed to on a daily basis. I mean, it is still a fairly male-dominated world, and so think of all of the outside stimuli that women receive, and so much of it is from a masculine perspective that they just kind of go along without really thinking about it. So it takes a lot of strength and courage and confidence for a woman to figure out what she believes outside of all these other influences. So that doesn't really answer the question, but I do think that when women who tended to vote Democratic will stick with Democrats, and a lot of women who, when they become more self-aware and understand what's going on in the political world, will move to a Democratic way of thinking. But as you know, some of that has to do with Christian or so-called Christian right type pressures and values and that's tended to be more on the Republican side. So it's a very complex issue, and
I have a great story.
oh,
There is an advocate down at the Capitol that advocated for senior issues for many years. She is a union organizer in her probably middle life, and a mom when she was young. And when Martha Eves passed away, she had 5 cats. This was 3 years ago. She had a list. She had these 5 cats, and she mostly wanted them to go to seniors that needed a companion and so forth, but she also had a stipulation that those cats go to a Democrat. And with their one cat they were having a hard time placing. So I got a call from a colleague of hers after she had passed away, and this cat was going from home to home to home, and they called me and they said, we have this cat, Pico, and you're on the list. Martha put you on the list before she died. And I was like, well, I knew she was trying to put them in older folks' homes because of the companionship. And I was like, how did I make the list? She goes, well, you're Democrats. And Martha would not let this cat go to any other family that was not a Democrat. So I do see, there are generational issues. But I think your generation, and I'm right in the middle. I just turned 43. And I've not been long to not be a YD, so it's just, I'm watching it on both ends. I'm seeing people in their 70s and 80s who were that long-time party of identification, and then young people that are trying to figure this out. I have several nieces that only see what they hear in their churches or what they hear around school or run away from it. And I think that the Young Democrats have an opportunity to reach those kind of folks. So I would say that this may be true for folks, 40 and up, but I don't think that when young women will have the same identifier. And I think that with President Obama making many strides, and First Lady Michelle Obama doing all of the interesting things that she's doing as being First Lady, I just think that people are going to be looking at the parties differently. One last thing, I know Wendy probably has something to say, but you've got to also think, as I was coming up, we had a really anti-government sentiment, and that was the Republican Party's stance. And so that was so popularized, I think it was really hard for a lot of people to fill that niche, because it's all about being against something. So now, I think there's a new belief that what are you for? And I think the Democrats have that. They can say, we're for this. And I think young women and men want to see something of for. They want to see hope and opportunity and change. And not just, we're going to have a tea party and throw tea bags at them. What is the solution except for no? So.
Right. Well, and I think it's, whenever you talk about traditional roles, you talk about political stereotypes. And I think as women leaders, we need to make sure that when we're talking about issues, we're not just talking about child care. We have jobs in the economy are important to every single caucus you can name. It's not, and the number of women, I think women should be, that should be the top of our list of, the jobs in the economy. The people who are hurting most in this economy, frankly, are the single mothers out there. Single fathers are hurting too, but it's until we work on pay equity and things like that, but it's about jobs in the economy. It's about being well versed in all the issues. Again, as candidates, we can't just do traditional women's issues, if you will. We have to show that there's a full range of issues that I care about as a candidate, that I care about as an activist, as a leader. And I think it's important, interestingly enough, sort of the twisted good thing about traditional roles is women have stereotypes that are actually very good in terms of people consider us more trustworthy in a lot of ways. You think about the big political scandals, you go political scandal, the first thing you think about is usually not the woman elected official, right? Although there are plenty of women involved in scandals. But in terms of elected officials, there's naturally a higher trust factor a lot of times with a woman candidate. There is, if you have a set of 3 candidates and you just have a demographic, who is most likely to represent change? Usually it's a woman is seen as not a part of old, but as something new. Again, these are things we can embrace and understand and move forward with. But I think it's real important to make sure we have a broad range of issues as candidates.
And also, you know, women tend to work across party lines. I think that